The race to catch a killer in New York City with new clues this morning after the brazen murder of United Healthcare's CEO Brian Thompson yesterday, right on the sidewalk in the morning in Manhattan. Several law enforcement officials now tell CNN that two words, delay and depose, were found at the scene. Depose, written on a shell casing from a round that was fired into the victim. Delay, written on a live round not fired, but ejected when the shooter appeared to be clearing a jam. There's also new video of the encounter, and police say show the killer who planned the attack, targeted this man, and had experience with guns. Let's get right to CNN's Bryn Gingras, who was here giving us all of the breaking news as the details were just beginning to come in yesterday morning. You've been gathering details since. What's the latest this hour, Bryn?
Yeah, Kate, well, that, is a big piece of evidence that they uncovered there, according to our sources from John Miller, just because it might possibly point to some sort of motive here. If you talk about those two words, investigators are trying to connect the dots and see if it has anything to do with the fact that Brian Thompson was the CEO of United Healthcare. Did it have to do with insurance because of the popular phrasing in the insurance industry of delay, deny, and defend? So that is something that is being asked by investigators right now. But that's not the only thing. Only piece of evidence, rather, that, of course, that investigators are looking into. We know there was a lot of things that were left behind by this suspect that right now police are trying to determine if they can get DNA off of, fingerprints, running forensics on them, trying, of course, to get closer to getting a name. And of course, we are asking our sources, are they any closer to getting a name in addition to finding this person responsible? Let's also talk about a little bit more of the threats that police are hearing were made against Brian Thompson. According to sources of mine, I was told that they were some concerning threats that the investigators had come across, really their security team for United Healthcare had come across, made against the entire company of United Healthcare, the CEOs, the executive team, and that was something that was being looked at. According to NBC, the widow of Brian Thompson, she told NBC that she knew about some threats and said, quote, "I don't know details. I just know that he said there were some people that had been threatening him." So this is also something that is of concern and what is being investigated at this time. So a lot of threads here, a lot of search warrants going on. We know that there was a search warrant of the hotel across the street where Thompson was staying in that room. We also know that investigators are still piecing together that timeline. We know that, according to sources telling John Miller, that suspect left the Upper West Side early yesterday morning, heading downtown, getting off at the 57th Street subway, and stopped at a Starbucks, bought 2 power bars, bought a water bottle before actually committing this brazen, really, execution. And investigators were able to get that water bottle and hopefully, again, are trying to see if there's any DNA that can get off of that. So a lot of stuff going on this morning, but no idea just yet if they're any closer to finding who is responsible for this horrific killing, guys.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be standing by to wait for and hope for another update press conference from the NYPD at some point soon. It's great to see you, Bryn. Thank you. John.
All right, with us now, CNN national security analyst Juliette Kayyem and former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. And Andy, let's just start with these words. I mean, delay and depose. What a big development to have something like this, a message, a literal message from a killer.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, John. It doesn't quite identify the person at this point, but it's a bit of a tantalizing detail. I mean, as Bryn just noted in her piece, it raises some questions as to whether or not those words are a reference to kind of insurance speak. And that would, of course, point in the direction that this person was somehow, was certainly personally invested in this murder. And that, might be a disgruntled customer of the company, could be a disgruntled employee. And I'm sure that investigators are already looking in those areas. And of course, looking at the threat information that apparently the company had been receiving for some time about this specific victim and other potential victims on the team. But those words can also provide forensic significance later on in the case. If someone is detained and has writings in which those words appear in kind of the same context, you could have matches that way. And of course, you could render you might be able to render a fingerprint or DNA evidence off of those rounds and casings as well. So very, very important piece of evidence for the investigators.
Yeah, to be clear, those words delay and depose and also deny is occasionally thrown in there as well, are words very much used by critics of the health insurance industry. I mean, there are books written, as Reddit. You don't have to do many searches to figure out that that would be a message about health insurance. Given this message, given all the footage now, Juliet, are you surprised we don't have a name, at least a name that we're not being told yet?
Yeah, and in fact, the fact that we're entering day 2 and that his exit was so sophisticated not only confirms what we already know, that this was not just a targeted killing, but a professional killing. I mean, just the specificity of it, his calmness when he reloads a gun. And now that he's missing suggests he was smart enough to have some sort of exit strategy. 24 hours later, you can't even confirm that he's still in the state anymore. And that will make it harder. We don't know if in the next couple hours the NYPD says that he hasn't. But I think what this is showing is that, first of all, we should just remind him, Brian Thompson is a 50-year-old man with a wife and 2 children.
Yeah.
So all the stuff about healthcare and everything bad about healthcare is just ridiculous at this stage. He is 10% of all doctors have some touch point with his company, with United Healthcare. In other words, this is such a vast web of associations, and lots of people are probably angry at him. It's a customer service business. Lots of people will be angry, and he's the touch point, or he's the focal point as the CEO of that company. And so there's a lot of people in that pool.
I mean, if you were running a healthcare company, would you be getting protection right now?
If I were, okay, so now this is going back. Looking at those videos, not only does he not have a detail, he appears to have no staff. I've never seen anything like that for a company that large. It may be that that he's always under threats. People are always mad at an insurance company. I spent a lot of time yesterday with people who are in executive protection. Everyone is ratcheting up until they know. Healthcare and other service industries where people are mad, angry, disappointed on the other end are ones in which CEOs are going to look for more protection.
All right, Andy, Juliet used the phrase professional killer. That may be art or science here. But how would you describe the level of skill in terms of the killing itself and also the getaway, and what that means about who this person might be and also the manhunt itself?
Sure. So we don't know at this point if it's a professional act, meaning someone who was hired to commit this murder. It's possible, but we don't know that just yet. What we do know is an extremely well organized, highly planned, sophisticated attack. From everything we've seen so far, from the fact that he was seen carrying the battery to the e-bike, which raises the question of maybe he pre-positioned the e-bike before the attack to stage it for his getaway. The fact that he showed up at the perfect time, which was really a weird time to have the CEO showing up for this conference, an hour and 20 minutes early, but he knew that the guy would be in that place at that time, which tells you he possibly did some surveillance to make that determination. His approach to the target, letting the target pass first and approaching him only from behind where the victim wouldn't see him first and, raise alarm. And then the way he walks through the shooting, clearly very accomplished shooter, somebody who's done some training. He has the right stance. He has the right grip on the gun. He cycles through the jam in the firearm like it's nothing. And that's a clear indication of a high degree of training. So yeah, this guy was no joke, and clearly thought about this, organized it very well, and executed it according to plan.
How long could someone like that hide, Andy, do you think?
I think it's fair to assume that he put just as much thought and preparation and organization into his escape plan. The e-bike was really brilliant. It's an easy way to get around quickly. You don't get snarled in traffic jams. You can actually ride the bike into the park, which you wouldn't be able to do with a vehicle in the same way. So that was great. He's got the big backpack on. It likely has a change of clothes in it. I would guess that as soon as he got a moment or some cover, he took off that coat and the mask and the things that could identify him, and likely walked out of the park in a totally different appearance and blended right in with the crowds of tourists and people going to work. So he could be on the run for quite some time. Now, he's being chased by probably the best police force in the United States of America, maybe anywhere. They have an amazing video surveillance network to rely on. They've been very good about getting the information out to the public to get all these public eyes looking around and thinking and calling in tips. So I think they will get him eventually, but this could take a while.
All right, Julia Kayyem, Andrew McCabe, thanks to both of you.